The station orbited above Earth like a metal moon. It held the leaders of 17 alien species, each one more advanced than humans could dream. They sat in a massive chamber that floated in the black space, far above the blue world they were deciding the fate of. Kevin Hayes did not sit in that chamber. He worked in a small building in Washington, looking at screens that showed nothing of the meeting happening above his world. He had no idea that his species was being judged. He had no idea that in less than 2 hours, everything would change forever. The Valorians spoke first. They were beings made of crystal, their bodies reflecting light like prisms. Their leader, Counselor Thren, had a voice that sounded like glass breaking in a musical way. "Humans are dangerous," Thren said. "They wage war against each other. They kill for land, for resources, for ideas. They are emotional creatures who act without thinking of the future. They build weapons instead of bridges. We have watched them for 3 centuries. They have not changed." The Kicks were next. They did not have individual bodies. Instead, they spoke as one voice from thousands of small forms that moved together like a single creature. Their words came from the center of the chamber. "Humans cannot be trusted," the Kicks' mind said. "They betray each other. Their own history shows betrayal and violence. If we let them into our peaceful galaxy, they will bring this chaos with them. They will destroy what we have built." One by one, species stood to speak against Earth. The Duralians, who valued order above all things. The Crow, who saw humans as too unpredictable. Even the Centellians, who had once been interested in human progress, now voted against them. Only a few species spoke in humanity's favor. The Raxi people, who were themselves emotional and creative, defended humans. The Morphians, a species that valued potential, said humans were still young and could change. But their voices were weak. The vote was already decided before it happened. Counselor Thren raised his crystal hand. The question was asked aloud in the galactic language that 1,000 species understood. Do we allow Earth and humanity to join the galactic community, or do we declare them a banishment zone, cut off from all trade, all knowledge, all contact with our civilization? The voting crystals glowed one by one. Red for banishment, blue for acceptance. The chamber filled with red light. More red than blue. Much more red than blue. When the voting ended, 17 red lights burned in the darkness. Humanity had been voted out of the galaxy. Counselor Thren announced the decision in a voice like breaking glass. Earth is declared a banishment zone. All contact ceases immediately. A containment barrier will be constructed within 48 hours. Humanity will be isolated until they learn the value of peace and civilization. The Kicks added their part. The barrier will prevent any human vessel from leaving Earth. It will also prevent any outside assistance from reaching Earth. They will have only what they have built themselves. The meeting ended. The representatives left the chamber. None of them felt the need to stay longer. The decision was final. Humanity's fate was sealed. Far below on Earth, a single message was being prepared. It came from Dr. Lisa Morgan, a human woman who had been living on the station for 2 years. She had attended these meetings in secret, learning their languages, understanding their fears. She had watched them vote to destroy her people's future. She could not stop the vote. She could not change the decision, but she could warn them. Lisa's hand shook as she entered the encryption code. The message would take only minutes to reach Earth, but she had to be careful. If the Valorians discovered her, they would kill her without question. She had already typed out Kevin Hayes' name. She knew him from satellite communications. He was important in Earth's space program. The message was short and urgent. Kevin, they have voted. Earth is banished. The barrier comes in 48 hours. They want us isolated forever. I am including the station's location and the barrier's control frequencies. I cannot help further. I must return to the station and pretend I know nothing. What you do now will determine if humanity survives. You must act fast, Lisa." She sent the message and deleted every trace of it from the station's computers. Then she joined the other observers, watching the Valorians celebrate their victory. On Earth, Kevin Hayes was in a meeting about satellite maintenance when his private computer chimed. He looked at the message. At first, he thought it was fake. A joke, an attack. But Lisa's words meant something to him. They had spoken only 3 times, but he knew she would never send false information. He stood up from the meeting without explanation and walked to his office. He locked the door and read the message again. 48 hours. The whole world. A barrier that could not be crossed. Kevin picked up his phone and began making calls. His voice was steady, but his hands were still shaking. "This is Kevin Hayes. I need you to call an emergency World Council meeting. Right now. Tell them this is not a request. Tell them it is about Earth's survival. Tell them we have less than 2 days to save ourselves." The next call was to Admiral James Pierce at the Pentagon. Then to Dr. Michael Chang at the European Space Agency. Then to scientists, to leaders, to anyone who had the power to listen and act. By the time night fell on Earth, every world leader knew the truth. Humanity had been judged and found unworthy. Humanity had been voted into isolation. The barrier would come, and nothing would ever be the same. But Kevin Hayes did not despair. In his office, late into the night, he stared at Lisa's message. She had given them the station's location. She had given them the barrier's frequency codes. And she had said one simple thing. "You must act fast." Kevin began the plan. He called together the brightest minds from every nation. He ignored treaties and boundaries. He brought together the best pilots, the best engineers, the best minds that humanity had to offer. In 36 hours, they would attempt something impossible. They would reach the stars. They would reach the station. They would show the Galactic Council who humans really were. And they would do it before the barrier trapped them forever on their world. In the darkness above Earth, the barrier's construction began. The Valorians activated their machines. Huge energy fields started to form around the planet. Within 2 days, no human ship would ever leave Earth again. Within 2 days, humanity would be alone. But humanity was about to prove that being alone was not the same as being helpless. And the Galactic Council was about to learn that judging humans was the greatest mistake they had ever made. The emergency meeting took place in a secure bunker beneath the United Nations building. 30 world leaders sat around the table that stretched across the entire room. Some of them had been enemies hours ago. Now they had only one thing to think about. Survival. Kevin Hayes stood at the front of the room and told them everything. He showed them Lisa's message. He showed them the station's location. He showed them the barrier's control frequencies. And he told them something that made grown men and women sit in stunned silence. "We have 36 hours, Kevin said. His voice did not shake. "In that time, we need to build a ship, gather a team, and reach that station before the barrier forms. If we do not do this, Earth is locked away. Humanity is trapped on this world forever." The president of Russia spoke first. "This is impossible. We cannot build a ship in 36 hours. We do not have the technology." "We have the technology," Kevin replied. "We have never used it together before, but it exists. The Americans have the engines. The Europeans have the navigation systems. The Japanese have the life support technology. The Russians have the power cores. When we combine everything we have, we can build something that works." The Chinese Prime Minister leaned forward. "You are asking us to share military technology. You are asking us to work with nations we do not trust. This is too much. It is less than what we will lose, Kevin said. If we do nothing, Earth is isolated. No trade, no knowledge, no contact. Our children will never reach the stars. All we will have is what we have now, and eventually it will not be enough. We will grow weaker while the galaxy grows stronger around us. One by one, the leaders agreed. National borders did not matter anymore. Military secrets became shared knowledge. Nations that had fought against each other for decades began moving equipment across borders to a single location. A space facility in Nevada was chosen. It was isolated, secure, and it had the infrastructure needed. Commander Grace Lopez received her orders while she was flying over the Atlantic Ocean. She turned her plane around and headed for Nevada. When she arrived, the facility was already transformed. Hundreds of scientists and engineers worked day and night. The project had no name. It had no official classification. It simply was the most important thing humans had ever attempted. Grace found Kevin in the command center, surrounded by screens showing construction progress. "I want the best people we have," Kevin told her. "People who can think fast. People who can act under pressure. People who will not break." Grace nodded. She already knew who she wanted. She made her selections quickly. Dr. Vincent Park, a physicist from South Korea who had published papers on barrier technology. Captain Henry Foster, a pilot who had flown in worse conditions than anyone else alive. Dr. Asya Thompson, a biologist who spoke 5 languages and had studied alien species her whole life. Kyle Stewart, an engineer from Texas who had modified aircraft in ways that should not have been possible, but it worked anyway. They met in a conference room at the facility. Grace explained the mission without anything hidden. "We are going to take a ship that was built by every nation on Earth in 30 hours, she told them. "We are going to fly it to a station that orbits above our planet. We are going to do something the Galactic Council believes is impossible. And we are going to do it before a barrier locks us all away forever." Vincent Park was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. "They built the containment barrier to be activated from the inside. That means there are control nodes. Nodes that need to communicate with each other. If we can find the frequency those nodes use to talk, we can ride that signal through the barrier like a ship riding a wave through water." Kyle Stewart was already nodding. "We can modify the ship's communication systems. We can make it broadcast on the barrier's own frequency. They will not see us coming because they will think we are part of their own system." Aisha looked at Grace. "What happens when we reach the station?" "We show them who we are," Grace said. "We do not attack. We do not threaten. We simply arrive and we show them that humans are not what they think we are. We show them that humans can reach across the stars. We show them that humans can work together. We show them that humans are worth knowing." Henry Foster spoke for the first time. "And if they kill us? Then at least we tried," Grace said. "At least Earth knows we did not go quietly into the dark." The work began immediately. The ship had to be built from pieces that were never meant to fit together. American rocket engines powered by Russian reactor cores. European navigation systems guided by Japanese computers. Canadian thermal shielding. Australian hull plating. Every nation on Earth contributed something. Every nation became part of the answer. Scientists worked without sleeping. They had coffee and energy bars and the knowledge that they were part of something greater than themselves. Engineers solved problems that should not have had solutions. They built a machine that should not have been possible. Vincent Park reconfigured the barrier frequency data. He created a system that would allow the ship to mask its own signature, making it appear as part of the barrier's own control system. It was elegant. It was simple. It was something only a human would think of, because only humans would try something so obviously insane. Kyle Stewart worked on the engine modifications. He pushed the ship's systems to levels they were never designed to reach. But he did it carefully. He did it with precision. He understood that if even one system failed, everyone died. Captain Henry Foster practiced the flight patterns. He knew the trajectory would be dangerous. He knew the timing had to be perfect. He knew that one mistake would mean missing the window, missing the barrier, missing everything. Dr. Aisha Thompson prepared the message. She wrote it in plain language, in words that an alien council could understand. She spoke about human children and human art. She spoke about human courage and human cooperation. She spoke about why humans deserved to survive. On the eve of launch, Kevin Hayes made a broadcast to the entire world. Billions of humans heard his words. Tomorrow, a small team will attempt something that has never been done, he said. They will reach beyond our world. They will prove that humans belong among the stars. But this is not just their mission. This is all of our mission. Every scientist who worked on this ship, every leader who put aside old wars, every person on Earth who believed that humanity could be better. You are all part of this. He paused. His voice became stronger. The Galactic Council voted to banish us. They believed we were too violent, too dangerous, too chaotic to join their civilization. But they are wrong. Humanity is not just a species that wages war. Humanity is a species that reaches toward the light. Humanity is a species that does not accept defeat. Humanity acts. The broadcast ended. Across Earth, people looked at the sky. They thought about the small group that would launch tomorrow. They thought about what it meant to be human. And in that moment, humanity was united in a way it had never been before. In Nevada, the ship was ready. Its hull was patched from 10 different nations. Its systems were bleeding-edge technology combined with desperate improvisation. It was beautiful and ugly all at once. It was the product of every human being who had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. Grace Lopez ran her hand along the ship's hull. It was cold and solid. It would have to be enough. In 24 hours, they would know if humanity could reach beyond its world. They would know if humans were worthy of the stars. The countdown was about to begin. The countdown reached 0. The ship rose from Nevada on pillars of orange and white fire. It cut through Earth's atmosphere with a sound that shook the ground for 50 miles in every direction. Below, millions of people watched the sky and held their breath. Inside the ship, Grace Lopez sat in the captain's chair. Henry Foster was at the controls. Vincent Park monitored every system. Kyle Stewart stood ready to fix anything that broke. Aisha Thompson held the message they would deliver. They did not have time for doubt. They did not have time for fear. They only had time for action. The journey to the barrier would take 4 hours. In those 4 hours, everything had to work perfectly. One system failure, one miscalculation, one moment of bad luck, and they would miss the window completely. Vincent Park worked at his station with fingers that moved like they had minds of their own. He refined the masking signal. He made it perfect. The computer code that would make their ship appear as part of the barrier's own control system flowed from his screens. "How much time do we have?" he called out. Kyle checked his displays. "The barrier is 90% constructed. We have maybe 1 hour after we reach it before it locks down completely." Henry pushed the ship harder. The engine screamed. The hull shook. Every warning light in the cabin flickered to life and then went dark as systems adjusted and compensated. The ship had been built in 30 hours with equipment from 10 different nations. It should not have been flying at all, but it flew. Grace watched the space between them and the barrier shrink on her displays. The barrier was becoming visible now. It looked like a sphere of energy forming around Earth. Blue and white light crackled across its surface as the Valorians activated. more and more of their construction machinery. "We're going to make it," Grace said. She did not ask. She stated it like it was fact. Like the universe would listen. "Barrier's 85% online," Kyle called out. His voice was steady but urgent. Vincent Park was sweating. The code had to be perfect. One error in the barrier's defenses would target them. One error in humanity's last hope would be nothing but debris floating in space. "Code is locked," Vincent announced. "Masking signal is ready. When we hit the barrier, we go live with the frequency broadcast." Henry adjusted their trajectory. They were coming at the barrier from the side where the control nodes were closest. It was the same direction Lisa Morgan had told them to approach. It was the only place where their plan had a chance of working. The ship shook again. An alarm sounded. "Thermal stress on the starboard side," Kyle shouted. "The engines are running too hot. We are pushing past safe parameters." "How long until we lose them?" Grace asked. 5 minutes. Maybe 10. Grace did not hesitate. "We are not slowing down. Henry, push it harder." Henry Foster had flown through impossible situations before. He had landed damaged aircraft in thunderstorms. He had navigated through instrument failures and engine fires. He knew when to be careful and when to be reckless. This was a time to be reckless. He pushed the throttles to maximum. The ship's engines did something that should have destroyed them. They burned hotter and brighter and faster. The temperature on the hull climbed toward levels that would begin melting the hull's coating. 1 minute to the barrier edge," Vincent called out. The barrier was no longer something distant and abstract. It filled their entire forward window. It looked like a wall of pure energy. It looked like something that would vaporize anything that touched it. "All systems live on my mark," Vincent said. 3, 2, 1, mark. The masking signal went out. The ship began to broadcast on the barrier's own frequency. The barrier's defense systems looked at the incoming ship and saw only a signal that matched their own network. "We are in," Vincent breathed. But they were not safe yet. They were inside the barrier's outer shell, but the barrier was still forming. Layers of energy compressed against the ship. Kyle and Vincent worked together, adjusting the masking signal in real time, making sure it stayed synchronized with the barrier's construction algorithms. The ship dove deeper into the barrier. The light around them grew brighter and brighter until everything outside their window was pure white and blue. 30 seconds to station proximity," Henry called out. Grace watched the screens. The station was suddenly visible. A massive structure made of metal and alien design. It orbited in space like a machine waiting for the hand that would operate it. Guards would be there. Weapons would be pointed at them. The Valorians would have seen them by now. They would know something was wrong. "They are powering weapons," Kyle announced. "Station-based defense grid is coming online. Keep us broadcasting on their frequency," Grace ordered. "Keep them confused about what we are." The ship rocketed toward the docking bay. Warning signals from the station filled their communications channels. The Valorians were shouting in their crystalline voices. They were demanding identification. They were demanding the unidentified vessel power down immediately. Henry did not respond. He aimed the ship at the docking bay and accelerated. The window filled with the metal structure of the station. They were close enough now that their speed was insane. They were close enough that a crash would obliterate them instantly. 30 seconds to impact, Henry said calmly. The docking bay doors were closing. The Valorians were trying to lock them out. But the timing was perfect. The ship dove through the opening doors with meters to spare. Behind them, the doors slammed shut. Henry killed the engines. The ship hit the docking pad hard. Alarm screamed. The landing was controlled but rough. They had made it. They had reached the station. They had done something that should have been impossible. For one moment, Everything was quiet inside the ship. Then the station's main weapons charged. They were pointed directly at the docking bay. The Valorians had decided. They would not take the chance. They would destroy the ship and everyone on it. Grace Lopez stood up from her chair. She looked at her team. Vincent Park, Henry Foster, Aisha Thompson, Kyle Stewart. 4 humans who had risked everything. "We broadcast," Grace said. "We broadcast who we are." Aisha Thompson activated the communication system. Her voice went out on every frequency the station used. Her voice went to every species in the council chamber. Her voice carried across the galactic network. "We are humans from Earth," she said. "We came here unarmed. We came here to show you who we are. We did not come to fight. We came to show you that humans are worthy. We came to show you that your decision was wrong." And then she played the message. She played it in languages that 12 alien species understood. She played images of Earth's children. She played human music. She played images of humans building and creating and reaching toward the stars. The weapons on the station did not fire. Something had stopped them. Something in what they were seeing had made the Valorians pause. In that moment, everything changed. The guards took them through corridors made of materials that humans could not identify. The walls seemed to shift colors as they walked. The floors were smooth and cold. Grace Lopez kept her team walking straight ahead, their heads up, their eyes forward. They were not prisoners. They were visitors. They had come to be heard. The council chamber was vast. A sphere within a sphere. 17 species sat arranged in curved rows that climbed toward a central elevated platform. Light sources came from everywhere and nowhere. Some of the beings looked almost humanoid. Some looked like nothing on Earth could prepare you for. Counselor Thran was still made of crystal. His form caught the light and scattered it into 1,000 colors. He spoke first, and his voice was cold. "You have violated the containment protocols. You have breached a barrier that was designed to withstand any assault. You have boarded this station with your weapons and your threat." "We carry no weapons," Grace said. Her voice was steady. "We carry ourselves. We carry our message. We carry proof that you made a mistake." A Kix colony leader spoke. The individual forms moved around each other in patterns that made Grace slightly dizzy. "You pose a threat through your mere existence. Your species is violent. Your history proves this." Vincent Park stepped forward. He held up a data chip. It was simple. It was small, but it held everything humanity had sent. "Our history shows violence," Vincent said, "but it also shows growth. We have made mistakes. We have hurt each other, but we have learned from these mistakes. We are not the same species that existed 1,000 years ago. We change, we learn, we grow." He placed the chip on a neutral platform. Instantly, the council chamber's displays filled with images. Data flowed across the screens. Centuries of human history. The wars were there. The cruelty was there. But also the art was there. The music was there. The medical breakthroughs were there. The moments where humans had chosen mercy instead of revenge. Aisha Thompson walked to the center of the chamber. She was small compared to many of the creatures around her. She was fragile. She was human. But when she spoke, her voice carried weight. "You call us violent," she said, "but you have never asked us why we fight. You have never asked us what makes us willing to travel through barriers and reach across the stars to be heard. You have never asked us what we value." She touched a control and the images changed. They showed human children, playing, learning, growing, reaching toward the stars with wonder in their eyes. "We value our children," Aisha continued. "We would fight for them. We would die for them. But we would also teach them that fighting is the last choice not the first. The Duralian representative, a being made of dense gray matter, spoke. Yet you brought weapons to our station. We brought a ship, Kyle Stewart said. A ship built by every nation on Earth. Built in 30 hours. Built from pieces that were never meant to fit together. Do you know what that means? It means we can take what seems impossible and make it work. It means we can solve problems in ways that beings who have only one way of thinking cannot solve them. The Centellian observer, who had once favored humanity, leaned forward with fascination. You united against us. Nations that fought each other united in less than a day? When facing extinction, the small wars become small, Grace answered. We are not perfect, but we are capable. We are adaptable. We are worth knowing. One of the merchant Duralians stood. His voice was less hostile than the others. You traveled across space with primitive technology against impossible odds, the merchant said. That shows capability. That shows determination. But what would you offer us? Why should we change our vote? Vincent Park answered. Technology. We will build technology that takes Earth's resources and combines them with your knowledge. We will create things that neither our species could create alone. Trade. We have resources you want, and we want knowledge. You have diversity. 17 species think in 17 ways. Humans think in a way that is different. That difference is valuable. The Valorian council leader, Councillor Thran, made a sound like breaking glass. It was meant to be dismissive, but something had changed in the chamber. The other councillors were no longer just listening. They were thinking. The Kik's hive mind pulsed. The individual forms moved in patterns that created a kind of equation in the air. After a long moment, the hive mind spoke. We do not find humans acceptable, but we find them interesting. We find them capable of acts we would not predict. This is not without value. This is not without value. One by one, the councillors who had voted for banishment began to shift their positions. Not all of them. The most militant species remained hostile. But the merchants saw opportunity. The species that valued discovery saw potential. The species that had always been curious about the universe saw something worth investigating. The vote was called again. This time, the question was different. Do we revoke the banishment of Earth? Do we offer humanity full membership in the galactic community? This time, the lights that flashed were mixed. Red and blue and colors that had no Earth names. But the blue was stronger than before. The acceptance was stronger than the rejection. When the final count was announced, 17 lights filled the chamber. But only 7 were red. 10 lights glowed blue. Humanity had been accepted. Councillor Thran made no sound. He did not celebrate. But he did not protest either. The decision had been made. Earth had earned its place among the stars, through nothing more than human determination and the refusal to accept an unjust verdict. Grace Lopez did not smile. She simply nodded. This was not victory. This was survival. This was the chance to prove themselves over time. This was the beginning of a long journey. Aisha Thompson held up her hand. We accept the Council's decision. We accept the responsibility that comes with membership. We will work to prove that your trust was not misplaced. As they were led from the chamber, Vincent Park looked back at the assembled council members. He knew that this was just the first conversation, that proving humanity's worth would take time, that there would be doubters and those who remained hostile. But humanity had done something remarkable. Humanity had refused to accept defeat. Humanity had reached into the dark and grabbed hold of the light, and now they would hold on to it. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere with its cargo of hope. Grace Lopez stood at the window of the cockpit and watched her world come into view. The blue oceans, the brown continents, the clouds that swirled across its surface. It looked smaller than she remembered. It also looked more beautiful. Henry Foster guided the ship down with the care he had learned flying the impossible. Every adjustment was smooth. Every angle was perfect. The landing was gentle enough that a child could have slept through it. When the ship's doors opened, a roar went up from the gathering that covered the landing field. Thousands of people, scientists, engineers, military personnel, families of the crew, and behind them, millions more watching on screens across the world. Humanity was waiting to hear if their species had survived. Kevin Hayes pushed through the crowd and reached Grace before anyone else could. He did not ask questions. He simply looked at her face, and he saw the answer. "We made it," Grace said. "We made it, and we changed everything." That night, Kevin Hayes stood before the United Nations. The chamber was packed. Leaders from every nation on Earth sat in their seats. Television screens across the planet showed his face. More than 3 billion people watched and listened. "Humanity has been accepted into the galactic community," Kevin said. His voice was calm, but beneath it, emotion burned like fire. "We are no longer alone. We are no longer isolated. The stars are now open to us." He paused. The weight of what he was about to say pressed down on him. But this is not a victory that belongs to a few people. Grace Lopez did not reach the stars alone. Vincent Park did not break the barrier code alone. Henry Foster did not fly that ship alone. Neither did Adisha Thompson or Kyle Stewart. They succeeded because every person on Earth contributed something. Every scientist who worked in those labs contributed. Every world leader who put aside old wars contributed. Every citizen who believed that humanity could be better contributed. The chamber erupted in applause. It lasted for 5 minutes. 10 minutes. When it finally faded, Kevin continued. "The council told us we were too violent, too chaotic, too unpredictable. And they were right about one thing. We are unpredictable. We do things that should be impossible. We reach toward the stars even when the darkness seems absolute. That is not a weakness. That is humanity's greatest strength." In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Earth's governments began formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Trade agreements were negotiated. Human scientists were invited to work on joint research projects with the Raxi and the Morphians. Human artists shared their work with alien species that had never known art like it before. The first joint space station began construction. Humans and aliens working together, building something that neither could have built alone. The station orbited halfway between Earth and the Council's original position. It was a symbol of the bridge between two worlds. Grace Lopez stood on one of the upper levels of the new station, looking down at Earth. The barrier had been completely dismantled. It served no purpose anymore. The containment that was meant to imprison humanity had become the reason humanity was set free. She thought about the moment when the weapons on the Council station had not fired. She thought about the silence in the chamber when Aisha Thompson spoke about human children. She thought about how close everything had come to failure. But it had not failed. Humanity had acted when it mattered most. Dr. Aisha Thompson was in a research lab 2 levels below Grace. She worked alongside a Raxi scientist named Crow. The Raxi was similar to humans in their emotions, if not in their biology. Krell had become her friend. They laughed at the same things. They were curious about the same problems. They had discovered that intelligence and emotion transcended species. Vincent Park was on Earth, leading a team that worked on combining human and Valorian technology. If anyone had told him a month ago that he would be collaborating with the very species that had tried to isolate humanity, he would have laughed. But here he was, teaching Valorian engineers about human problem-solving methods, learning from them about applications of energy that humans had never considered. Kyle Stewart's modifications to the original ship had inspired a whole new class of hybrid vessels. Ships built with technology from 5 different species. Ships that moved faster and flew more efficiently than anything that could be built by a single species alone. Humanity's gift for improvisation had found a place in galactic engineering. Captain Henry Foster had become Earth's official representative pilot for the Galactic Council. He trained other humans who would soon join the Council's fleet of ships. He taught them to fly with the calm and precision that had gotten him and his team across the impossible gulf between worlds. On Earth, children looked at the sky with wonder. Many of them would be the first generation to grow up in a galaxy where humans were known. Some would leave Earth and study on alien worlds. Some would teach aliens about Earth's history and art and music. Some would fall in love with ideas from other species and bring them home to their world. Schools taught the languages of the 17 Council species. Universities welcomed alien students. Humans and aliens lived in the same cities, worked at the same jobs, raised children together in a way that would have seemed impossible just weeks before. Not everything was perfect. There were still those on the Council who remained suspicious of humans. There were still humans who feared the unknown. There were misunderstandings and moments when old prejudices surfaced. But there was now a possibility that had not existed before. The possibility of knowing each other. The possibility of working together. The possibility of building something greater than what any single species could build alone. Grace Lopez watched the stars from the station window. Thousands of ships moved through space now. Some carried humans exploring worlds they had never dreamed existed. Some carried aliens coming to Earth to see the blue world that had produced such a stubborn and determined species. She thought about the Council vote. She thought about how they had said humanity was too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable. And they had been right. But they had not understood that those same qualities that made humans difficult also made humans capable. The emotions that made humans capable of cruelty also made them capable of incredible compassion. The violence that humans could inflict was matched by the sacrifice that humans would make for each other. The barrier that was meant to imprison humanity had failed. It had failed because humans refused to accept isolation. It had failed because humans believed that reaching beyond their world was worth any risk. It had failed because humanity had acted immediately when everything was at stake. And now, humanity was no longer a species confined to a single world. Humanity was no longer a species waiting to be accepted by others. Humanity was a voice in the conversation of civilizations. Humanity was a force in the galaxy. In the years to come, there would be challenges. There would be conflicts. There would be times when humans and aliens did not understand each other. But there would also be discovery. There would be cooperation. There would be moments when the best of all species came together and created something that none of them could have created alone. The rulers had voted to banish Earth. Humanity had acted immediately. And in that action, everything had changed. Not just for humans, but for the entire galaxy. The stars were now home.